Good morning, beautiful souls. Happy Friday. It's a lovely, cool, calm, peaceful morning out in the woods. I could have just quite happily sat here and given you 20 minutes of just meditation space, because that's very much how the energy feels at the moment. We're kind of almost having to make the effort to chip into the kind of the more frantic aspects of the stuff that's going on around us. And the other day I was talking about the addition of the Lemurians, the incredible quantity of help and assistance that we're getting, and what the next kind of year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years of building is going to entail. And funnily enough, I was driving the other afternoon. I mean, this is the 24th, and I was kind of just pootling along, and all of a sudden this wave of energy came over me, but it was quite physical. And it was one of those waves of energy where I thought, well, either my blood sugar's just dropped, I haven't eaten enough, or something else is happening. It was strong enough to make me actually, just for a few seconds, consider pulling over, because all of a sudden I went from grounded to very kind of, there's a very specific feeling when waves of energy like that come in. And it's almost a little bit like trying to drive underwater or function with your head in a fish tank. So that lasted for about 25-30 minutes, and it wasn't until later that evening that I just saw a post kind of flick up on Facebook that was stating how Uranus had begun a retrograde period. And it wasn't just a miniature retrograde period. This lasts until January the 23rd, 2023. So we've got this whacking great big period of time where a planet which is already affecting the dynamics of what's going on around us in the reflective 3D, 5D matrix is now beginning to bring everybody's attention to the things that need to change, need to grow, need to alter. So in the midst of all of this incredibly calm, peaceful energy that you may or may not be feeling, that's another thing where one of us might be having that experience, another person might be experiencing something tumultuous, but overall the energy is very much more fluid, it's very stable. High frequency vibrations, the flow of light, tend to be very subtle. So back before 2012, when we weren't primed, we weren't ready, we weren't assimilated with what we bring in now, every time a download of light came in, it would feel very jarring for us. We would have to adjust. It's almost like going out and drinking heavily. It'd take you 1 or 2 days to recover as your body kind of detoxes the poisons and you go through that process. Well, that was very much like how it was. It was almost, as we moved into 2013, 2014, the introduction of this light needed to be done in stages, and there were small stages. Now we have a continual flow. It never ceases. Okay, so we've got the only thing that happens is different kind of energies are mixed in, different parameters, different targets, different things occurring in the heavens that kind of mix it up to accentuate what needs to be built, what needs to be worked on. So at this moment in time, the focus is on adapting ourselves so that we are living in a 5th dimensional harmony excuse me, with this planet. Now, how do we do that when we've been so hardwired into 3D and 3D essentially just took everything? It used resources and did it in a way that never replaced. It's constantly about corporations making money, constantly about human beings needing more. Well, the focus of this retrograde, the Uranus retrograde, is going to start pinpointing this. And you might have noticed this narrative that's already kind of playing out with some people call it the green agenda, and what is being shouted via politics, with the kind of the WEF kind of looming behind them. That's been painted or created to look or mimic our own particular structure for the gold print that we're moving into. So this is where things can get quite confusing, because naturally we're getting all of this information coming out of the media to get us to tune into it, to get us to kind of feed into the distraction, when in actual fact the picture that is being painted is very, very different from the one that we are aiming for. So it's a little bit about cleaning up our personal relationship with the planet, with the things that we use, with the resources that we embody on an everyday basis. Now, no one's expecting us to suddenly kind of spring out, kind of like, with your eco-warrior cape on, doing absolutely everything perfectly. It's a little bit at a time. It's about adjusting our frequency to be in a state of gratitude for everything that we receive from the planet, everything that we take, everything that we use, and maybe replacing it, acting from a point of service to put back the energy with which you have received. And so over the next 3, 4, 5 months, we're going to very much see the focus of this, and it is also likely to be the story that is being played out via media, the kind of the push to become electric, to move away from the fossil, the fossil fuels and all of the other thing. My advice would be to, as ever, remove all media distractions, all of them. And when I say go on a media diet, I mean that's a crash diet. It's a bit like going on a fast, or one of these incredible kind of dry fasts that people go on, where you literally nothing goes into the body, and the body heals and cleanses itself. I've never done one myself, but I'm thinking about doing it. Probably have to lock myself away in a cave for a week to get away with that. So a media diet, okay, or a complete media overhaul of all the things that you take in, I believe are going to be necessary, because the quantity of distractions and bombardment coming out of that are going to increase. This is something that will occur in harmony with this retrograde. All attention and all focus will be upon that, and it will also be our relationship to surviving within the parameters of our own creation. So I believe, or I feel quite strongly, that we are going to be serving ourselves an incredible amount if we start thinking about the more self-sufficient side. And this doesn't mean that there are impending looming shortages and anything. That's all part. This is all part of the fear seeding. I mean, literally about kind of how finding the smallest and the most effective ways of unplugging bit by bit from the matrix that we are tuned into, the aspects of it that have kind of almost captured us, that we feel that we can't survive without, and just slowly but surely become self-sufficient, have that ability to, if we needed to, begin to create on our own volition. So teach yourself how to grow vegetables, learn how to cook, all of these just little pieces of personal action can go a very, very long way. So at the moment you're probably feeling this energy moving in. Some of us perceived the Uranus retrograde as a huge jolt. I know I picked it up very clearly. One minute the energy was going in one direction, the next minute it's roaring backwards. And another thing which has really made itself prominent to me is the quantity of people that have woken up this year. Now, I think before we move into the kind of the final 3 months of this year, it's time to stop and celebrate how many souls have actually flicked on, the light switch has come on, and they're starting to seek, they're starting to require answers, guidance, teaching, or might automatically have stepped into a teaching role from maybe from a previous teaching method into another. It's quite incredible. And this is down to you, okay? This is down to the work that you're doing, the light that you're holding, the frequency and the vibration that you have anchored in yourself. Because the game of light is a lot more subtle, very much like those fifth dimensional energies that I mentioned at the beginning. The game of light passes from heart to heart. It passes from field to field. It's the gone are the days where we stand on a pulpit shouting out the merits of what we believe in and shouting out the merits of what we are tuned into, you know, because everybody has their own personal belief system. The qualities that you embody, the vibration that you send out or you carry with you on a daily basis is the trigger. And that's been going on right since the very start. So you carry your heart, you carry your vibration, you carry your light in your fields, you carry all of the keys and the codes and the abilities and the past life and the current soul contracts that you are here with at this moment in time. And that is the light up. That is the point which triggers other people to step into this field, into this vibration. Because the light that we carry can no longer be ignored, okay? We've gone from being, I suppose on the spiritual pathway, quite secretive beings, weren't we? You know, back in the old days, we'd kind of go to our workshops on a weekend, we'd read our books, we'd have our interests, we'd love our crystals, we'd do the healing, but it wasn't so much a visible way of life like it is now. And all of a sudden we've moved into a situation where so many of us have had to walk through the particular test. Now that particular test is becoming visible to those around us. Okay, and it's a big one. I've seen so many people go through it. It begins with asking the question, what are my friends and my family going to think of me when they realise that I believe in these things? And 2020 and 2021 was a big testing ground for that. That was the line in the sand for so many people. It was, I believe in this so strongly. I can see the illusion so clearly that I can no longer hide what I believe in, who I am. And it's all part of the flowering on the spiritual pathway, to embody who you are, to be who you are, to own it, okay? To own who you actually are on this ascension pathway is probably one of the most liberating things that you can possibly do. But it also creates scenarios where the old falls away. And I've spoken about this and done YouTubes previously on a few occasions, if you want to kind of check through my archives, about how the raising of the frequency, the acknowledgement of the ascension pathway and the stepping up inevitably removes kind of anything or everyone from your life that is not in alignment with that pathway. So ultimately, as well as doing what we're doing, our own personal process, we are constantly going through a process of revising our soul contracts, signing something bigger, brighter, better, stepping up, adding things maybe to the mission that we maybe hadn't planned before, but ultimately sticking to the template of our soul contract and moving through what we're doing. So all around us, everything is changing. It's reshifting to match our frequency and our vibration. And ultimately, so we are the keys, we are the light triggers. all of these frequencies coming in from the cosmos, all of this light from the heavens, from the suns, the specific kind of galactic setup that has been designed very, very specifically to trigger this ascension process, because without the light we wouldn't be going through it. Light quotient has to reach a certain point within the bodies and fields even before we begin the return to center again. So you are the key, you are the catalyst. Without you, there's no furthering of the process. So the anchor point that you are, the heart-based individual, the soul that is receiving all of this light, this information, you are the trigger that wakes the people up around you. So if like many others, you've been feeling kind of increasingly frustrated that the people around you aren't waking up, and it is a bit of a grind when that happens. If you happen to have chosen or are experiencing a situation where you are quite isolated, that there doesn't seem to be any hope for those around you, and you're just like, give me some manna for the soul, I need that. That's quite likely that you're going through the part of the spiritual initiation where it's known as the great isolation. And that can happen after the triggering or the crucifixion. You kind of go into this tunnel where you appear to be completely alone. Even your guides and your angels are standing back. Then all of a sudden your frequency sets. You've begun you've begun to be able to manage yourself perfectly in that state of isolation, aloneness. And then at that point, soul family starts gravitating towards you. So even if you are surrounded at this moment by people that are just completely on another planet, and they might as well be on another planet with the difference in consciousness now, once you've embodied this light, once you have become you are here wearing your mighty I am banners, the cloak, the full uniform. Once you've embodied that, it becomes such a powerful process. And what we can't change at this moment in time is people's personal choices as to when they wake up. Okay? Now, there have been, and this is another subject I've touched on before, quite a few distracting pieces of information going out about how this ascension process is only for the few. Okay, there's only a few of us going through the gateway. It's not. I don't believe that's true. I think the majority of us have incarnated on this planet, and to walk through the ascension gateway, 6 billion is the minimum number that is required to walk through. Well, that's the original agreement. And I saw something which really encouraged me the other day, like really kind of put even more enthusiasm into me to do this job, to get up every day and actually put this work in, to do the stuff. And it basically said that this entire process is set up to accommodate as many people as possible. When it reaches a critical pitch, when so many people have woken up, all of a sudden it changes. The parameters, the entire foundation and the structure of the energy just completely alters, and it will happen very, very quickly. It won't be the kind of the long-winded, grindy process that we're experiencing at the moment, where we can see the visible results and we can celebrate it and it drives us forwards. I'm talking about a change that occurs rapidly, and that happens when the quantity of souls that have woken up reach critical mass. Okay, and I suppose that number would be around the 6 billion mark. Now, you might be looking at the world around you going, how's it going to happen? Well, it will. Okay. If you think about how many people that you've got around you that previously weren't awake, weren't showing any signs of interest whatsoever, and they're now questioning, they're wanting answers, they're seeking, the spiritual pathway has begun. Now, because of the subtlety of the energy coming in, and also the differences in how we perceive our world and the spiritual pathway, people around you might not necessarily be resonating with it in the way that you are, but they have woken up. So positivity and high expectations are kind of the message of the morning. Positivity, enthusiasm. If you're not feeling the enthusiasm for your pathway at the moment, just take it back to you, back to the core. Like I said earlier, kind of begin to look at this process from a point, and I know a lot of you already do. Look at it from a point of self-sufficiency. Become self-sufficient in what you'll do, and do as much as you possibly can to kind of unplug, remove, just kind of unsew yourself from any of the kind of the connections to the 3D matrix that you have, and start building the potential within your field. And like I say, it doesn't have to happen everything overnight, but we will be assisted by this very powerful movement of Uranus moving through in retrograde through the heavens, making us look at everything. Our relationship to the planet, our relationship to the way that we use resources, food, all of the things that are an everyday part of our life, an essential part of our life, but it is not part of whatever they are presenting through the media, whatever kind of agenda the kind of the political system is parading. That is part of something completely different. Okay, so try not to, if possible, to get the two confused, because the message that is coming out of the TV screens might sound like it makes sense, it might be clear, it might be painted with lovely rainbows and birds singing and all of the other stuff, but it's not aligned with the picture that we're moving into. It's something very, very different. And with that, it comes literally down to us, our vibration, our powers of manifestation, how we create, what our relationship is. And I feel this energy now is very natural. It's about returning to nature. We're always going to be supported by the technology that we have, the technology that I'm communicating to you with. But this practical and very grounded process is now moving into the next phase. And the next phase is about love, peace, unity, oneness with the planet, oneness with each other, oneness with the animals, the trees, the plants. And we can only do that if we are operating from a point of love. And sometimes that's the hardest part, when we've got all of these different worlds operating around us, all the distractions, all the information. So if you are feeling a little bit overloaded, media diet, okay? And that doesn't mean you have to kind of like switch off all sources of information. It just means that you whittle it down to an absolute bare minimum. Or maybe, yes, you need that silence. Maybe you need to just come away completely, detached from the EMFs, detached from the stuff that's coming up, detached from kind of, have feeling obliged to answer questions and give out information using the throat chakra constantly. Just bring it back to you. Rest within this energy. See what this retrograde is bringing us, because it is big, bright, powerful and wonderful stuff. Sending you all loads of love. Like to give a big shout out for the event that I'm running with Mia Kafkios on the 31st, where we are looking at the relationship template, and it's a big one. It's going to be a planetary clearing, And when I say relationship template, it doesn't mean it doesn't mean as in kind of marital partners. It covers everything. The relationship that we have with ourselves, with our siblings, with our aunties, our uncles, our parents, our children, our co-workers, our friendship circle, but ultimately, most importantly, with ourselves. That'll be a good one. And I'll put the details, that's the 31st at 7 p.m. UK time. Sending you all loads of love. Have a beautiful weekend, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.